Chapter 32 of J.S. Bach, Volume 2. This is a LibriVox recording. All LibriVox recordings are in the public domain. For more information or to volunteer, please visit LibriVox.org. J.S. Bach, Volume 2, by Albert Schweitzer, translated by Ernest Newman. The Oratorios. Bach Gesellschaft 5-2. The Christmas Oratorio. Bach Gesellschaft 21-3. The Easter Oratorio. Bach Gesellschaft 2. The Ascension Oratorio. Cantata Lobet Gott in seinen Reichen. Number 11. We possess the original score of the Christmas Oratorio and the parts, the latter carefully revised by Bach himself. How closely he went through these may be seen from the fact that he noted that the copyist had required a wind player to transpose in the middle of a solo, whereupon he removed the error. The score and the parts, now in the Royal Library at Berlin, once belonged to Emmanuel, who is written on the cover, composed in 1734, in the 50th year of the composer. We also have a textbook of the first performance of the work. Bach's title of oratorio is misleading. An oratorio implies a biblical action. This is lacking in Bach's work. It consists of lyrical meditations held together by recitatives that tell the Christmas story as it is given in Matthew and Luke. Moreover, the work was never given under Bach as a whole, and at one time, but in 6 parts, on the 3 days of Christmas, New Year's Day, the Sunday after New Year's Day, and Epiphany. The Christmas Oratorio is therefore merely a collection of 6 cantatas, which Bach wrote for the Christmas of 1734, and that only differ from other Christmas and post-Christmas cantatas in this respect, that the one mood runs through them all, and together they tell the full story of the birth of Christ. He must have conceived the plan of such a collection of cantatas as early as 1733. It was the time when he was trying to support his petition for the title of court composer by a number of occasional compositions in honor of the royal house. It was out of the question that this music, after being performed, should be allowed to moulder in a drawer. The ceremonial and gladsome character of the choruses in these works made them especially suitable for the Christmas festival. We may thus almost say that Bach wrote the Christmas Oratorio in order that the finest movements of Die Wahl des Hercules and the Drama per Musica in honor of the Queen, Tonet, Ear, Pauken, Schallet, Trompeten, should not be lost. Die Wahl des Hercules had been given on 5th September 1733, the Drama per Musica on 8th December of the same year, both by the Telemann Society. In the original score, we can distinguish borrowed movements from the new ones by the fact that the former are carefully and neatly written, while the remainder have been written hastily and are sometimes hardly legible. Besides the numbers taken from Die Wahl des Hercules and the Drama per Musica, there are some others that are evidently fair copies. It is practically certain that these also are not original, but are taken from occasional compositions which we cannot trace. The conclusion is that the great introductory choruses of the 6 cantatas and almost all the great solo numbers of the Christmas Oratorio are borrowed. Footnote from the Drama per Musica, Rue Aaron de Kernigin, are derived: 1. The chorus, Jachzet, Frohlocket, first cantata. 2. The aria, Grosser Herr und Starker König, first cantata. 3. The aria, Frohe Hirten eilt, second cantata. 4. The chorus, Herrscher des Himmels, third cantata. From Die Wahl des Hercules are derived: 5. The aria, Bereite dich sein, first cantata. 6. The aria, Schlafe mein Liebster, second cantata. 7. The duet Herr dein Mitleid, 3rd cantata. 8. The chorus Falt mit Danken, 4th cantata. 9. The aria Flirst mein Heiland, Flirst dein Name, 4th cantata. 10. The aria Ich will nur dir zu Ehren lieben, 4th cantata. From the cantata Gratulatoria in Adventem Regis, Praise dein Glücke Gesegnetes Sachsen, performed on 5th October 1734, is derived. 11. The aria Lugt auch meine finstern Sinne, 5th cantata. The following come from unknown cantatas. 12. The aria Schließe mein Herze dies selig Wunder, 3rd cantata. 13. The chorus Ehre sei dir Gott gesungen, 5th cantata. 14. The trio Ach wann wir dir seit erscheinen, 5th cantata. 15. The chorus Herr, wenn die stolzen Feinde toben, 16th cantata. 6. The aria Nur ein Wink von seinen Handen, 6th cantata. 17. The aria Nun macht ihr stolzen Feinde schrecken, 6th cantata. End of footnote. We must neither overestimate nor underestimate the bearing of this fact on the artistic value of the Christmas oratorio. Spitta underrates it, saying that the fact that the music was originally written for another text does not deprive it of any of its beauty. Others hold that the discovery of the provenance of the choruses and arias dissipates a good deal of the charm of the work. Against this it may be urged that a distinction must here be made between the choruses and the arias. The former are as good as original compositions could be. The declamation is excellent. The moods and ideas of the text correspond as exactly to the music as if the latter had been composed expressly to these particular words. The impression one gets is rather that their charm and beauty do not mate with the text of the secular cantatas. The arias do not show the same happy agreement between the music and the words. The music to Ich will nur dir zu Ehren lieben, Bereite dich sein, and Herr dein Mitleid in particular shows too clearly that it was prompted by other ideas and images than those of the present text. Footnote. For further details, see page 282. The most artless hearer feels this discrepancy between the poem and the music. The majority of these arias do not affect him greatly. The declamation, thanks to the care with which the new text has been put together, does not often suggest adaptation, but it is certainly not as natural as in other arias. All this, however, simply proves that the chief significance of the Christmas oratorio is not to be sought in the arias, and that it is no crime to cut them. The 3 choruses that belong to the action of the Christmas story, Ehre sei Gott, Lasset uns heimgehen, and Wo ist der Neugeboren König, are supremely beautiful. The commencement of the first reminds us strongly of the youthful freshness of the organ fantasia in G major, Peters 4, number 11. In the others we are struck by their remarkable simplicity and concision. In performance, the beauty of Lasset uns hingehen is usually spoiled by too quick a tempo. People forget that the agitation and hurrying at the departure of the shepherds is already expressed in the semi-quaver figure of the flutes and first violins, and that a quick tempo obliterates these runs and prevents the hearer perceiving their meaning. It may be suggested that the fine quaver motif in the basses in Ehre sei Gott and Lasset uns hingehen would be brought out better by the addition of a few bassoons. It was a very happy idea of Picander's to accompany the action with short meditative recitatives. They are well written, and have inspired Bach to some beautiful and fervent music. Especially fine are So get den hin, Ihr Hirten gehet, Emmanuel o Susses Wort, Wollen dein Name soll allein in meinem Herzen sein, and the chorale with recitative ist auf Erden kommen arm, pastoral pipes playing round the last. Perhaps the most moving effects come from the chorales with independent orchestral accompaniment. Ach mein Herz, liebes Jeselein, mach dir ein rein samt Bettlein, zu ruhen in meines Herzens Shrine. Ah, dearest Jesus, holy child, make thee a bed soft and undefiled within my heart, and there recline. Footnote, Mr. Troutbeck's translation in Novello's edition of the Oratorio, translator Schweitzer Bach 2. Sings the chorus on the announcement that Mary has cradled the child in a manger, and we hear stately interludes in the three trumpets, a royal cradle music for the child in the stable at Bethlehem, the chorale wir singen dir in deinem here, with all thy hosts, O Lord, we sing, is accompanied by the motif of the angels from the Sinfonia at the commencement of the second part, since the preceding recitative indicates that it represents the combined song of angels and men. In the chorale, Jesu Richte mein beginnen, the horn parts are of exquisite tenderness. The final chorale, Nun seid ihr wohl gerochen, with its wonderful trumpet figures, is a song of triumph of inimitable grandeur. Chorales with independent orchestral accompaniment are found in the cantatas of the first Leipzig period, but not in those belonging to the period of the Christmas oratorio. There are so many other things in this work that remind us of the earlier ones, that if the date were not so thoroughly vouched for, we should be tempted to believe it had been written 10 years previously. This is a unique characteristic of Bach. The years have no effect on the artist in him. At 50 he can write as youthful music as at 25. Most hearers fail to perceive the beauty of the Sinfonia that opens the second part. It gives them a slight feeling of disappointment. Instead of a tender pastoral of the kind we have in Handel's Messiah, they get a movement into the mood of which they cannot quite enter. Even when played most tenderly, it has a certain restlessness in it. It does not give the hallowed impression of the star-strewn heavens that we should expect from a prelude to the narrative of the shepherds who are watching their flocks by night. Probably there is no conductor who has not felt the difficulty of making so extremely animated a movement give the idea of the serene tranquillity of nature. Anyone who has had the truly painful experience of going through several performances of the Sinfonia cannot help asking in the end whether Bach really intended to express the mood that his interpreters put into it, and that he... Footnote. According to Spitta, the fundamental feeling of the Sinfonia is a combination of the grace of the Eastern idol with the severity of the starlit boreal winter's night, Spitta 2, 581. End of footnote. And that never succeeds in performance. But if the movement is properly understood, it has quite a different meaning. No one who knows that the motif in strings and flutes is generally employed by Bach to symbolize angels. Footnote. See page 80, where the two themes of the Sinfonia are quoted. End of footnote. And who notices that the movement is performed by two contrasted groups, the four oboes having a theme of their own, and being quite independent of the strings, whether they alternate or join with them, can have any doubt as to the meaning of the Sinfonia. It represents the angels and the shepherds making music together. Bach is once more writing music that depicts a situation. The shepherds in the fields awake and blow their pipes. Over them there hovers already the band of angels that is about to appear to them. Their music blends with that of the shepherds. Bach thus intends the movement to be an introduction to the recitative. And there were shepherds in the same country, abiding in the field, and lo, an angel of the Lord stood by them. If this be so, we need no longer take all the animation out of the Sinfonia by playing it very softly and slowly. We can play it just as it is. The part for the flutes and violins must come out energetically if it is to suggest the joyous music of the angels. The oboes should play piano throughout and in a tempo just a shade slower. Where the strings alone are playing, or interrupt the oboes for a moment, a forte is required. The short parentheses in particular must give the effect of a shout of joy. Where the strings play with the oboes, the former should as a rule play piano, as if the angels were listening to the pipes of their shepherds. In this way we not only give an admirable and natural variety to the movement, but we make it immediately intelligible to every hearer. It is desirable also that the violin motif be played with a somewhat heavy grace, the third and ninth quavers receiving a kind of secondary accent that detaches them, as it were, from the note that follows. For a full performance of the Christmas oratorio, 2 evenings are required. If possible, the performance should be so arranged that the first comes in Advent or Christmas and the second in Epiphany. If only 1 evening is available, it is better to cut the work freely rather than to hurry over it, for at the end the hearer is too tired to appreciate the beauty of the second part. It is a bad custom to make more cuts in the second part than in the first. The general principle to go upon is not to omit the great introductory choruses, the chorales, the recitatives, or anything relating to the action of the Christmas story. The cuts should all be in the arias. Footnote, for example, the arias, Grosser König, Frohe Hirten, Schlisse, Mein Herze, and Erlucht auch might be omitted altogether, and big cuts made in the echo aria, Flirst, Mein Heiland, and the trio Ach wann wir die Zeit. The short recitatives was Gott dem Abraham, and Ja, ja, mein Herz might also be omitted. End of footnote. For popular performance in church, we can safely cut out almost all the arias without any risk of leaving a mere torso. As a matter of fact, by so doing, we shall make the action all the clearer and more beautiful. Footnote. This refers only to the long and independent arias. Bereite dich sein, Grosser König, Frohe Hirten, Herr dein Mitleid, Schließe mein Herze, Flirst mein Heiland, ich will dir zu Ehren, Erlugt auch meine schwachen Sinnen, ach wann wird die Zeit, nur ein Wink, and nun mögt ihr stolzen Feinde. The contemplative solo pieces that bear on the action must be retained. The proposal to sacrifice the independent arias in a church performance must not be taken as a depreciation of the arias in general. It simply means that small societies that feel that they cannot give the Christmas oratorio because of the expense of the soloists will find the work very effective without the great solo numbers. End of footnote. The cradle song, Schlafe mein Liebster, should be retained, but it should be removed to the point in the action to which it really belongs, at the end of the recitative. And they came with haste and found both Mary and Joseph. But Mary kept all these things and pondered them in her heart. Then it becomes the lullaby that the mother sings to the Holy Child when she is once more alone with him. Footnote. In this case, the recitatives, So geht den hin, and Ja, ja, mein Herz, must also be cut out. It is incomprehensible how Bach could allow the cradle song to be sung after the bare annunciation of the angels. Even in performances in which the other arias are not sacrificed, the lullaby should be transferred to the point mentioned above. End of footnote. The Easter oratorio, Kommt, Eilet und Laufet, Bach Gesellschaft 21:3, is in its present form simply a large cantata. In its first form, as we see from the original parts, the work was a real oratorio. Mary, the mother of James, soprano, Mary Magdalene, contralto, Peter, tenor, and John, bass, take part in it as active dramatic personages. The opening duet between tenor and bass represented the dialogue of Peter and John when running to the grave. At a later date, the action struck Bach as insufficient for a religious drama. He took out the names of the characters, recast the opening duet in the form of a chorus, and left the middle movement only in duet form. Unfortunately, the orchestral parts of this third and definitive redaction that we possess are incomplete, so that Rust, when he was editing the work, felt compelled to mediate between the second version and the third. He gives the first main movement and the middle movement in the form of a choral duet, and does not bring in the four-part chorus until the end. Footnote, see his preface to Bach Gesellschaft 21:3. It is fairly certain that the work was written about 1736. The date of the two revisions cannot be determined. End of footnote. The first movement contains a remarkable representation of running. It is interesting to note that the original text originally was Kommt, gehet und laufet, come, go and run. The later version of the words, which is much more animated and more singable, is by Bach himself. There is a wonderful piece expressed in the tenor aria, Sanft soll mein Todeskummer, easy my death shall be. The voice is accompanied by the first and second violins, con sordini, with the flutes a bec, doubling them. It is one of the most beautiful sacred lullabies that Bach ever wrote. We seem to be gazing in a dream over a gently moving sea towards the fields of eternity. Footnote. The text should be altered somewhat. We hear a little too much of the Schweißtuch Jesu, handkerchief of Jesus. End of footnote. The Ascension Oratorio Lobet Gott in seinen Reichen, number 11, called by Bach an oratorio, though the text has scarcely a trace of biblical action, probably belongs to the same period as the Easter Oratorio. Perhaps the music of the powerful and animated opening chorus was originally written for some secular festival cantata. This seems probable from some rather faulty pieces of declamation, such as this. And this. They do not, however, diminish the effect of this spirited movement. The final chorus takes the form of a chorale fantasia upon the last strophe of the hymn, Gott verrät auf gen Himmel, wann soll es doch geschehen, wann kommet die liebe Zeit, dass ich hin werde sehen in seiner Herrlichkeit, du Tag, wann wirst du sein, dass wir den Heiland grüßen, dass wir den Heiland küssen, komm, stelle dich doch ein. The music to which Bach has set these words glows with ardent mystic love. The accompaniment perpetually repeats this passionate motif. End of chapter 32.